Hi, welcome back. In the previous video we looked at the model section of the application. In this video we will start examining the inventory section. We will demonstrate adding new inventory as well as managing warehouse stock. As a simple rule, remember that the first section, models, deals with abstractions, categories, collections and models, while the second section, inventory, deals with actual physical items that you produce and want to keep track of. Let's say that you have just produced 10 items of the model Dana and you want to submit this information into the system. Let's say that the items produced are of the default size medium and of color red. When adding items, you can either assign them to a warehouse or to a specific reseller. A reseller represents a channel through which you sell your items. It can be a physical store, a virtual store, or another form of a reseller. With physical stores, when an item is assigned to a reseller, it usually means that it is physically at the store, while with virtual stores, you would typically keep the item in the warehouse until the item is actually sold. We can specify how much it costs to produce each item, as well as the default price that we intend to charge for each item. As usual with RunInventory, all of this information can be modified in the future. So we have just added 10 items to the warehouse. Let's have a look at them. The information on this page should correspond to the actual items you have in your warehouse right now. As we've seen before, using the filters above, we find the items that we're looking for. Let's examine the grid in more detail. If the item's model has an image uploaded, pointing to the icon will open a pop-up with a larger version of the image. If you are not using images, unchecking this box will make the grid more compact. The second column displays the name of the item's model and the values of the category properties. In this case, Anna is a dress and two properties are shown, the size and the color. We can choose to display the property names by clicking on this box. Clicking on this box will display category properties that are marked as model only. In this case, they are the dress category properties called fabric and style. These are the properties that typically don't change between different instances of the items, and that is why they are not displayed by default. The third column displays the item's price. The fourth column displays the item's quantity. Similar items are grouped together. Two items of the same model are considered similar if they have the same values in all of their category properties, the same production cost, and the same price. As you can see, the first two items in this list are both of model Anna, but the items in the first row are of size large, while the items in the second row are of size medium. We use the fifth column to select items. Let's examine the footer of the grid. On the left side, we find the buttons to control the paging of the grid. The numbers near the buttons represent the row count. Contrary to the page with models we saw in the first video, on this page the row count can be very different from the item count, since each row can contain many similar items, so be careful not to confuse between the two. For the item count, we have the label quantity on the right side of the footer. This sums up the quantity of all items on all the grid pages for the current filter selection. In this case, since no filters are set, the quantity shows the total number of items in the warehouse. So we have 60 items in the warehouse right now. Similarly, the price label sums up the prices of all items on all the grid pages of the current filter selection. Let's say that we want to modify some items of model Anna. First, we will use the model filter to select Anna. See how the format of the grid changes and the property names are now displayed in separate columns. The quantity now is 8. We have 8 items of model Anna in the warehouse. These 2 buttons on the right part of the footer of the grid are very useful when selecting many items at once. Pointing to the bottom shows a small tooltip with an explanation. The plus button selects all the items on the current page. The minus button clears the current selection. Let's select all items of model Anna. Say we want to select 5 items of model Dana as well. No problem. We will set the model filter to Dana and select 5 items out of the 10 that we have in the warehouse. Notice how the selected items list doesn't change when we work with the main grid. This way we can build a large selection of items. The list of transactions that you can perform on the selection is displayed underneath the selected items list. The first drop-down selects the transaction. Some transactions have additional parameters that are required. Typically, the transactions will involve moving items, changing their state, or changing their price. In this case, for the items that are in the warehouse, the list of possible transactions are move to reseller, change price for the selected items, or delete items. Look at the tooltip for a help message regarding each transaction. When moving items, we can set a different price for each group of similar items. Before moving the items, we examine the list to make sure that we have selected the items that we had actually given to the reseller. We have moved 13 items to a reseller called Main Street. That's it for now. In the next video, we will see how we can manage items at the reseller as well as how to work with the sales history.